Hello. Welcome to the Roblox video that I had saved for months and never finished editing it. Since this has been floating around for a while, the good thing about it is that I can talk more about Jump Showdown's lifespan. As of the making of this video, the game is sitting at around 600 concurrent players, when it was like 1000 after about a few weeks of launch. Anyway, let's get started. In 2024, JSD, the one responsible for Jump Showdown, would go on to release a 1-week public beta test for Jump Showdown. In it, Gojo was basically the only playable character, the map was entirely different, and Gojo was missing a few moves in his moveset such as Hollow Purple. For 1 week, players were playing this new Battlegrounds game. When it inevitably closed, many players were waiting tirelessly for the game's final release. And, you guessed it, the impatient players would go on to eventually annoy JSD with the classic "release your game lil bro" taunt. This annoyed JSD so much to the point where he actually made an entire video about it. You might be wondering why some players were in desperate need of Jump Showdown. JSD's marketing was pretty much the fact that this was a game that was going to be fully worked on. Everything would be made from scratch to ensure there would be as minimal bugs and as much content and fun as possible. Correct me if I'm wrong. In 2025, basically an entire year after the beta test, JSD would host a live stream with some other people who were involved in the making of the game, such as Anecdote and Tough. It took about 7 hours of several different live streams before the game would finally be released to the public. And, as you may have guessed by now, the game did extremely well upon release. Yes, the game had bugs, but it didn't change the fact that hungry motherfuckers would spend tons of time on this game they had waited for so much. For about a week of this game's lifespan, the like rating was about 98%, and it always had above around 2k players playing it. But right now, the like rating is about 79%. With only an average of 700 players playing. So you might be wondering, what happened? Well, my answers are not concrete, but they may all be reasons as to why this game's falling apart. For starters, I think the biggest thing we need to address are character changes. In the past, and in earlier versions of the final release to JSD, Gojo specifically had a bunch of swords to his main. He was basically able to combo the shit out of you. Don't get me wrong, other characters can, and still can do cool ass combos to this day, but Gojo in the past had peak combos and dominating gamma play. I personally love when characters can use their tools in several different ways to continue pressing the advantage. Although Gojo can still technically do what he does best, Team JSD would go on to nerf him and buff the rest. Each character is good on their own, but one speculation as to why the game has lost some players is due to the removal or changes of certain characters, specifically Gojo, since he's the only character in the game outside of Kratos to have a moveset changed or straight up removed. Though I think the reason why Kratos' fourth move was removed was because the update was too early. In said nerf, the following was changed or removed from Gojo. Gojo's lapse blue would no longer reset your M1S if you waited for the M1S to reset, making lapse blue less powerful as an extension. Gojo's lapse blue kick combo extender was removed entirely, making lapse blue have even less of a reason to use. Limitless strikes no longer put the opponent in a launch state, now it straight up ragdolls their asses. Ruthless beatdown sends opponents upwards instead of away from you. I never noticed any changes in his ultimate. If any changes were made, it was most likely damage changes. I can't remember right now. Anyway, the fact that they removed or changed basically a decent chunk of Gojo probably made some people upset. Now one could argue to just use the other characters, which JSD actually has a combo extender added to one of his moves. And Salt Puncher Akariijin has a passive now, and Kratos has wall combo finisher and stuff. That would be correct. However, note that Gojo is the very first character on the list, meaning he's always chosen by default, unless you were playing as someone else before leaving. I say this because new players will play as Gojo. In my opinion, Gojo was and basically still is the face of JSD, and many players have, or will have played him. What I'm saying is that the main character quote unquote would probably throw some people off as at least one other character can overpower the shit out of him now. Unhinged ESP, for example. He now has a new combo extender move with his third move. ESP's first move combo extends on ragdolls, and his fourth move is a really great way to leave combos on, or wall combo. Reagent's combat game is slightly underwhelming, but to make up for it, he has technically two combo extenders, and a passive that boosts his damage. Kratos has what Gojo once had, where his second move can act as a combo extender, while also resetting M1S, and an unblockable projectile once thrown. What does Gojo have now? A second move that's blockable, a third move that only combo extends on ragdolls, a fourth move that was a suo extender, meaning it wasn't a true combo extender, but became true under certain conditions, such as walls, and a first move that's good on its own. So all these characters have what Gojo either had, or wished he had. This essentially turns Gojo into a last resort, and I think this may be a good reason as to why the game has lost some players. Is it a big reason? Not really, but I do think the game's balancing did have some impact. Another reason why I think JSD's player count is declining is very obvious at this point, well, at least in my perspective. Remember how I brought up the impatient Roblox players who were desperately dying to see this game release? Well, not only do I think the changes made from the beta to the final release definitely disappointed some players, and by changes, I mean the map, but I also think players are growing tired of playing JSD with no new content. If you're new around the gaming community, most games tend to start dying out after the game hasn't received any new content in a while. For Battlegrounds games, this is no exception. Although JSD did say there was going to be an update either last weekend or the week after, which is this week, the week I'm currently editing this video. As I'm making this video, no update has been released. I personally am not one to attack developers for not updating their game every day or whatever, but I do believe this is a very detrimental reason for the decline of players. Going back to the topic of the map real quick, I want to give my personal review on it. I definitely like it when games like this have more flat area to fight people on, where there are little to no spots people can jump onto and turn this shit into a parkour game, and I also like when the map isn't the largest thing in the world, and the only reason that is because I hate runners, and I don't want to chase one little fucker across a goddamn country. This map is not only bigger than the old map, but has tons of room for runners and parkour masters to run off to. This is probably why they gave wall running a limit instead of letting people just run up walls indefinitely until they tripped or something. This map is a little big for a fighting game, and kind of has runners and parkourers floating in the air like Gojo, and if I were a Battlegrounds developer, I definitely would discourage the running. JSD's parkour options are fantastic, and shouldn't be removed. However, if a Mythifica is going to Super Mario his ass on the highest peak every time I pop ultimate, or beat his ass so good that he starts running, it's going to get annoying. I think that's also a reason why people haven't been playing JSD. Problems like this are not exclusive to JSD, however, JSD is one of those games that let people do it better than the rest. In short, no one's gonna want to play a game where updates are scarce, but thankfully not as scarce as JSD, and a game where, because of an in-game option that was meant to be used for other purposes, maybe such as dodging certain attacks or finishing opponents, ends up becoming a tool for people to just fucking run away like hoes. And to top it all off, I'd like to add that this game's community is unfortunately a reason for this game's decline. As most may know, toxic players are not exclusive to any game. They spread like viruses and ruin every good game known to man. Roblox is unfortunately scattered with annoying brats and toxic people. Roblox, a game meant for all ages, has toxic kids and adults. Anyway, as JSD kept going, I noticed a resurgence of toxicity flowing. A lot of people started being toxic in just about every server. Teaming, despite the fact that this game discourages teaming using an anti-team mechanic, using gestures and chat to annoy and taunt people, and of course, the infamous backshitting a corpse after beating it to death. Oh, and don't forget the emote spam they would do as well. This game isn't nearly as toxic as Heroes Battlegrounds or Ultimate Battlegrounds, yet. That's the sad part. This game could get really toxic and over-competitive really fast. If this happens, a lot of people will be heavily discouraged to even try the game for themselves. As a matter of fact, the Battlegrounds genre itself almost seems to discourage newcomers. I say this because we all know people love eating up the small fry and beating the shit out of those who aren't nearly on par with the higher-ups. This was my overall review on Jump Showdown. Currently, I will give this game a solid 8.5 out of 10 as of current. However, I will be putting Jump Showdown on my Battlegrounds tier list, and it will sit at S rank. I do believe this is a really great Battlegrounds game, and I think it can do better than it is now. Overall, I think this game needs the return of the old map, some character balance changes that equal other characters. For example, if you're going to remove Gojo's Lapse Blue Combo Kit Combo Extender, Gojo's Lapse Blue M1 Reset, Gojo's Limitless Strike Pseudo Extender, and although this change isn't much, Gojo's Ruthless Beatdown Angle change, then I believe Unhinged ESP's third move Combo Extender should be removed, and his fourth move should have reduced Ragdoll cooldown to make it impossible to wall combo or downslot. Afterwards, you know, things like that. Although developers can't do too much with how their players play the game, I think one thing that can be done is discouraging toxic behavior, maybe by making it easier for people to access a developer or other higher up capable of banning people. People that should be banned should also be recorded to bring in definitive proof, and appealing should always be an option, regardless of the situation. Why do I say this? Because people can easily flip the script around on the people who haven't done anything wrong. For example, most people are taught to hit back if you've been hit first. In this context, if someone kills me, then emotes on me, then I'm going to do it to them back. But they could report you as toxic, leaving out the detail that they did it first. Now I know people won't normally just record everything that happens every time, so if you get a warning or banned, you should be able to appeal in several different ways, such as having eyewitnesses or explaining your side of the story to then bring more context into what was reported about you. Now I say all this, and I'm more than positive that JSD's devs have something to report people in their Discord, or you could simply report a player on Roblox itself. But I think there's more accessible and easier ways to do so, ways that'll be more efficient. All of this yappage was just mere speculation. I do not think something like this will happen at all. I don't think it's needed. However, it would be nice to have to discourage overcompetition and toxicity and welcome back casualty and fun. Thanks for watching. Sorry if my yapping made no sense, or just sounded like straight shit. I just wanted to let people hear what I had to say about the current state of Jump Showdown. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more shit like this. Have fun, and stay safe out there.